Such rockin' music. Wow. How's everyone doing? You guys having a good day? Me too. All right. Hey, I'm Dalton Ross from Entertainment Weekly, and I have one question for you all. Is anyone out there fixing for some Dixon? Anyone? A little bit? A little bit? Well, we're fixing to give you some Dixon. Welcome to the New York Comic-Con exclusive screening and panel for The Walking Dead. Daryl Dixon, everyone. Good to have you here. We're going to have an amazing panel with a little bit later with folks from the show. Not only that, but you all are going to be the first people in the world to watch the entire season 1 finale of Daryl Dixon. Yeah, it's airing this Sunday at 9 o'clock on AMC and AMC Plus, but you don't have to wait for that. We're going to show it to you right here. However, just want to note, with great power comes great responsibility. I heard that somewhere. You all are going to see everything. You're going to see the whole shebang. But in order to give everyone sort of the same unspoiled experience that you're going to have, we just asked one thing, and that is to please not record or post any spoilers about what you see here today. Some very important people went to bat for you all to see this episode, so please do them a solid and don't ruin it for everyone else. I mean, you can brag about seeing it. If you want to rub your friends' faces in it, that's cool. Just don't get into specifics. Don't talk about, like, the scene where Daryl dies or... Oh. Spoiler alert! So much for season 2, I guess. No, all right, so listen, before we get to the season finale of Daryl Dixon, we have a few other treats for you in the form of some brand new scenes and teasers for some other AMC shows you may be interested in. Shows like Orphan Black Echoes. You have any Clone Club? Clone Club out there? Clone Club. Starring Kristen Ritter, we got something for that. Shows like Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire. Had just season 2 on the way. We got a scene for you of that. And a show that you all may be a little familiar with. It's just a show about a certain husband and wife who go by the names Rick and Michonne. We got a teaser for The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live as well. You guys are going to be the first ones to see it, and those treats are coming up right here, right now. Let's roll it. You guys catch that date, February 2024? Coming up soon, coming up soon. All right, but let's turn our attention now to why we're all here, the big Walking Dead event happening this Sunday, this season finale of Daryl Dixon. Before we watch the finale, one of the executive producers wanted to say a few words. He's actually done a little acting on the show. You might have spotted him. Let's bring Daryl Dixon himself, Norman Reedus, up on the stage.
What's up? Hello.
There he is.
New York Comic-Con. Wow. How you guys doing? Wow. Hell yeah. Yeah, hi. Hello. First off, I want to say, call me. Yeah, I don't know who said that, but call me. A very large thank you, very grateful to AMC for signing an interim agreement with the Screen Actors Guild that allows us to be here, working together, going back to shoot in France the rest of the next season. But tonight, there's a very special thing. You guys are gonna watch the finale episode. The first people to see it, I think, ever. So I hope you guys like it. The show under David Zabel has just been fantastic, and Greg and Scott and everybody, and it's been a real joy. So I know you guys are gonna like it. So I love you too. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else?
That's it. We'll be back. You're gonna get a lot more Norman right afterwards. We'll have the big panel and
Yeah, I love all of you. Thank you for coming. I hope you enjoy the show. Yeah.
Enjoy the season finale. Daryl Dixon right now. Well, we certainly have a lot to discuss, wouldn't you say? So let's discuss it. Let's bring up the creative team of The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, to talk all about it. Please join me in welcoming Chief Content Officer of The Walking Dead universe, Scott Gimple, about to walk right out there. The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon showrunner David Zabel coming out to my left. Executive producer Greg Nicotero, everybody. And of course, series lead and executive producer Norman Reedus. There he is. All right, let's just get right to it. We need to talk about Norman. We need to talk about seeing Melissa McBride take down that biker in that final scene there. And look, I'm just going to ask you the question that everybody in this entire room wants to ask you. Will you marry me? Wait, what? No, that's not
Maybe.
embarrassing. Sorry about that. No, the other question everyone wants to ask you in this room. What does that mean? What does that scene all mean in terms of possibly seeing more Melissa and Carol on this show in season 2?
Well, yeah. Oh, thank you. So are you. Thank you so much.
Hey, wait a minute.
He's got better hair. But back to the news. My good friend, the talented, beautiful Melissa McBride, will be a series regular for season 2. Yeah. And we couldn't be more thrilled. So, hell yeah.
Wow. Breaking news. Melissa McBride, series regular in season 2 of Daryl Dixon. Right? Give it up for Melissa McBride.
Woo!
Come here today. Let's do it. Let's let her hear us from here. Greg, you've worked with Melissa since day 1 of The Walking Dead. What's it like to bring her over into this new story?
It's amazing. You know, Melissa and I met on The Mist, and that's why Frank Darabont cast her in the show. She had like a really small part and did such a great job that he brought her sort of out of, she was doing casting and wasn't even acting a lot, and brought her onto the show. So we're beyond excited. It's
amazing. I want to get to the other big thing at the end there, Norman, you know, about seeing Daryl at the end. What's going through his mind there? He's got the boat on one side, he's got Laurent on the other. It seems like, I mean, that's a hell of a choice to make, and it seems like the whole season has been leading up to that choice in terms of the whole sort of concept and definition of what is home. So what can you say about him as he's standing on that beach?
I think he's you know, home is where the heart is, and he's starting to open his heart up to these people a bit and starting to get to know them. But it's very Walking Dead to like just get almost there, you know, and have it pulled away from you. I don't think he was expecting. I tried to do a little bit of a smile on my face as I sort of fought my way to the boat, and it's gonna happen. And I didn't expect to hear his voice. But you know, there's something about that cast and those people and those characters where I'm kind of feeling like that myself in real life. But you know, it's he wants to get home to his people, and he's sort of finding a family there where he didn't expect it, you know.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we talked about from the beginning as being sort of the central premise of the show, was what happens if in trying to get back home to the people that you love, you find yourself belonging also somewhere else. You find that you start to form another kind of home somewhere else, and what's that dilemma like? And that's where you are on the beach at the end. And Lo-Sang kind of says it in that scene into him even. You know, that was always sort of the thing that we talked about from the beginning as being the central emotional challenge. Is like, I just want to get home. I don't want to form connections. I don't want to belong here. I belong somewhere else. I got to get back there. And in the context of trying to do that, the character finds himself, you know, almost against his own will, forming bonds, forming connections that make it tough.
It's funny because, you know, you have Daryl on one side, Laurent on the other side, and you two in the middle.
Yeah.
Which was the perfect segue.
That's like such a dad joke.
Well, it very much was.
Well, it's funny you brought up the music, because like I was really drawn to the music, the orchestral kind of score before the other music, and it sort of gets to something that really intrigued me. I don't know about you all, but really intrigued me the most about season 1, and something I really want to get into. And David and Scott, I'll let you guys sort of lead this off here, is just that the show is so different from the original series, and like not just in terms of the location of France, but like just in terms of the look of it, the music that's used, the scoring. Even Daryl, who I'd say shows sort of like an emotional range maybe and some shades we haven't seen before. So what were the discussions like as you guys were putting the show together, all of you, in terms of like, how do we make this show feel different while also keeping the original DNA of The Walking
Right.
Dead?
But that was exactly the mission. The mission was clear. It was simple, but not easy. And it was to uphold and maintain the standards of The Walking Dead and the universe that has been created to such a high level of excellence for many years, and yet to sort of broaden the aperture and widen the scope. And those were the conversations all of us had there. And so in my head, it was always the same but different, old and new at the same time.
I mean, one of the very, very early things was France. And that seemed to be like a blunt instrument in sort of shaking things up. And I remember talking to Norman about it, and I didn't know how it would land. And I don't know if you cheered or I mean, it was.
I was excited. Melissa was excited. We were all excited. You're gonna drop this redneck in Paris. Like, how am I gonna figure that out? It was so different. Yeah, I mean, you can see from the wardrobe and just the cinematography. Like, everything's so different on the show. I wanted to do something fresh. Melissa wanted to do something fresh. I was like day one, I'm like, how am I gonna play Daryl with a scarf on? Like, how am I gonna figure that out?
Suspenders. Suspenders.
Yeah, and suspenders, and we
on a scarf.
And we made it,
Remember talking about that because he ends up at the Abbey in episode 1, and he's got to change clothes because he's been in the ocean for a few days.
Yeah.
And he said, what am I going to wear? And I said, you're going to wear the priest's old clothes,
Yeah.
whatever clothes the priest has around, because that's the only man's clothing that's there.
And I wanted them to be like as old man as possible, I just wanted to try different stuff. Like, everything's so different. And the cast are so good, and our crew is so good. It's wild to work in France because, like, in America, like in Georgia, we were like bang, 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 bang. Like, we had like 3 cameras and 4 cameras going at the same time. It was like insane. But in France, like, you'll do one take, and then they'll stop and roll a cigarette and talk about it. And I'm like, what are we waiting on? And then I found out, I think through David, I think through you, what they were saying. And they were saying, well, what story are we telling with this camera move? And I was like, what? Just keep talking. Take your time. and you can see the shots are so beautiful. And the crew are so excited to be working on the show. It's really refreshing. It's great.
And they were huge fans of the show, too. The show has a big following, obviously, here, but overseas, the fans don't have the access to The Walking Dead that you guys do in terms of the panels and things. So when we went over there, people were so excited to be on set. The first time we brought zombies on set, everybody stopped what they were doing and applauded. And they were, like, touching the zombies, like, is that real? How do you do that? And it was really nice because in Georgia, after 12 years, they're like, all right, bring in the zombies. Yeah, whatever, great, okay, sure. It was really nice to have
They're eating Cheetos or whatever.
Yeah, it was really nice to have everybody just enthusiastic, from the production designer and the DP and everyone. They were so delighted to be a part of the show that it shows. Every ounce of enthusiasm shows on the screen.
But,
they were so obsessed with zombies at times that and they were great. Obviously, what Greg did on this show is amazing. It's another step beyond all the stuff he's done before. But there were times where I would say, especially to effects guys and some of the crew, I'm like, that's great. I know you're into the zombies, but we're shooting an intimate scene over here, so we still need to keep the cameras going and let's film over here. Don't get too distracted by the zombies.
What's funny is to watch the neighborhood sort of come out of their apartments, and we've completely just fucking destroyed this block, and they're like, what the hell is going on here? That's fun.
But there was a lady who came out of her apartment in Paris and came down, and there were about 10 zombie walker extras standing there smoking cigarettes, and they sort of parted for her, and she went online and said, the zombies are very polite. They're very polite.
Well, I remember, Norman, you telling me something a while back where you said, well, it's kind of cool. There's this parallel going on because Daryl doesn't know what's going on when he gets over there. And you're like, I kind of don't know what's going on either. I don't know what they're saying in French and this and that. So what was it like, just the language barrier in terms of filming over there?
I mean, it's part of the story. It's, Daryl's trying to figure out, is this going to be a fight? Like, is this going to be cool? Like, trying to figure out body language. I found myself doing that as well. But, there's certain things you can say without language, and there's certain, you can tell that this lady cares for this kid. You can tell the kid is sincere. The language barrier, it doesn't really stop us in any way, but there's an eloquence to the French language in an apocalyptic scene, which is sometimes hysterical and sometimes super sad. So, I don't know, it's been great. I have no complaints.
That was part of what was cool, too, about doing it in France, was you're able to juxtapose a certain kind of culture, a certain kind of history, including the language, against the apocalypse in a way that you can't do in the back roads of Georgia. And most of the places that we've seen the show, anywhere in the United States, you can't really do some of the things that we're doing on this show. And that juxtaposition is kind of powerful. It can be funny at times, but it can also be super moving. There's no other show where you could have a moat filled with zombies. Well, unless you did it in Scotland or something, you could do it. But I mean, there are certain things about France that were just specific that made a juxtaposition of that world with the Walking Dead universe and the rules of that really evocative and new.
Yeah, and we took big swings. I mean, we really, the fact that we shot in Normandy Beach and we shot at Mont Saint Michel and we shot in the catacombs and all over Paris. Like, I don't think there was one element that we didn't pay tribute to or honor. And it really was, for me, and Norman and I have been talking about the show for 8 years, and it was always, the idea of him sort of going out and having that vibe where he comes into contact with people and his life has changed and their lives are changed. So we didn't want to do more of the same. We didn't want to set up the same zombie attack sequences and the same beats. We really wanted the show to feel fresh and original, and we're grateful to every single person that's really noticed what we did, because I've got stopped by a lot of people. Oh, those guys right there. Hi, guys. And everybody wanted to just say how grateful they were and how fresh and original they thought that the show was. So thank you guys for recognizing that, because we worked really hard.
Thank you for watching. Yeah.
So Scott, you said something interesting. You said at one point you're like, and it's understandable because this show's a big swing. So you said, I wasn't sure if it would land. Like, talk about your concerns and how you got over those concerns or to where it did.
Yeah, I mean, it was the kernel idea of all this, and David took the ball and ran with it and evolved this into this amazing story with this amazing characters that honor, the story values of The Walking Dead. But France was just the first core idea, and it's, we had this machine in Georgia that we knew exactly how to make the show. We made it a very specific way, and we developed these people over 12 years, this incredible crew that became like family. And so first telling AMC, that was a nerve-wracking thing, because it's completely out of their comfort zone. It's completely out of their country. But, okay, they're on board. But then Norman and Melissa, telling them, like, that it's all up to them at that point. It's, if they don't want to do it, we're not going to do it. And Norman cheered on the other side of that Zoom, and Melissa giggled. And so, okay, now then it was getting real. And I'll just say, when you make TV and you see a show in New York, sometimes it's in Toronto, or sometimes it's in Atlanta with a big LED screen. And some people are getting nervous about France at this time. They don't know about making shows in France. And, things are being bandied about. And that's when Norman came into play. And as things drifted away from Paris, like Ireland for Paris, or Georgia for Paris, Norman was not having that. And I will say, producerily, straight as a producer, Norman just kept us focused on shooting in France. And if there's one person, in that early time, not switching away from shooting there, Norman was most responsible, because people were afraid. And it turned out to be this huge step forward for the universe, seeing it in a whole new light. And I really give Norman props for that.
That's
And
the guy
damn
to
it,
think
you
right
should
there in
too.
the end. That's the dude.
Yeah, it was also Melissa. We just wanted to do something completely out of our comfort zone and completely different. And so we're Costa Rica next, maybe.
Well, but David, you can shoot in Paris and in France, but like that could mean anything. You could just be in a studio in there. I mean, like, I don't know. You guys saw the Nest, Mont Saint Michel. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, the catacombs. I can't believe you guys were shooting in the
I
catacombs.
will say I had Mont Saint Michel on my desktop, and have had it for years, thinking it's a cool place to hide out from walkers, not zombies. And I never mentioned it. I never said anything. I never dreamed that could happen. And this gentleman made it happen.
Yeah.
And I was blown away.
Yeah, how do you get the permit? Because just so you know, you don't just show up with a tripod. Like, oh, we want to shoot here, we're going to do it. There's a lot of layers to that.
Well, I'll say, first of all, when you are trying to get somebody on board with an idea, you pitch them the best version you can imagine, knowing that sometimes you won't be able to do that. I fully pitched that we are on a journey to get to Mont Saint Michel, thinking we will never shoot in Mont Saint Michel. That will not be possible. That will not happen. I really thought it was a pipe dream, the most moved I ever was on any shoot was when Norman and I and Dan Percival were shooting that scene where he walks across the sand when he's leaving Mont Saint Michel, because I thought, we're never going to actually do that. For months, I thought that. So there was a lot of work. I think that's what you're getting at, Dalton. And there was a lot of work to get a lot of these locations. Very hard. And in France, it's a little bit different than here. In Mont Saint Michel specifically, I had to do a very early trip. Just our location manager and me, we went to Mont Saint Michel, and I had to schmooze the sort of mayor of Mont Saint Michel and schmooze the head of security in Mont Saint Michel.
You slept with them both.
And what?
Nothing.
What'd you say?
There's a lot of echo on that.
Yeah, there's a lot. But they were into it. But the funny thing is, they were into it, but my selling point didn't work, because I said, listen, people in America specifically and other places, but in America are going to see this, and they're going to want to visit Mont Saint Michel. And you're going to get a burst of tourism. And the guy was like, we have enough tourism. We don't really care. We don't need more.
We're good.
We don't need more. Yeah, they were really like, we're good. And I'm like, that's all I got. That's all I got.
And I will say, without giving anything away, you continue to find locations like that. There are places that you're going next season that I just cannot fathom. There are literally some convenience stores in Georgia we had some trouble with. And there are places next season I just can't imagine how you got in there.
And it's beautiful to see, but it's also important story-wise, like we were getting at before, because it is about using the environment as part of the story and letting that really be part of what Norman's character is moving through and reacting to and being affected by. And then in season 2, Melissa as well.
Well, let's talk about one of the other things that we love seeing on our screen, and that's walkers. So, Greg, you have like acid-like walkers. You got like, I don't know, super walkers being injected with mysterious stuff. You have musical walkers at one point. Just talk about like what you wanted to create for the show with the look of the undead.
Well, I was really proud of David and the writers, because the idea is, you always struggle with the idea of keeping the zombies scary. If you can kill them off too easily, then they become less of a threat. They're not as scary. But our mission out of the gate was to make them thrilling, to make them different. So, we pitched a whole bunch of ideas. The burner zombies have a little sort of homage to Dick Smith and Scanners, where you see these big veins going, and the amped up zombies that get shot with the fluid, you can see the little black veins growing. It gives you a little sort of Sam Raimi Evil Dead vibes. We changed the lenses to, the burners have like a bright blue, like their eyes are on fire, and the amped up zombies have black contact lenses. I don't even know if you noticed, but in that last scene where Daryl fights the zombies in the arena, all their teeth were filed to sharp points, so they had pointed teeth. It's something that you don't really draw a lot of attention to, but that was something that we did. So the idea that we're adding more and more layers to these zombies, and they all play a big part in the story. It's not just, oh, we need a cool zombie here. It actually has something to do with moving the story forward and involving the characters and involving a lot of that stuff. So it was really a lot of fun for us. And, you know, we had a great time. The orchestra between us and Clovis, the production designer, came up with some really great stuff, and it was just something different. And I remember we built all these puppets, and we did all these cool makeups, and there's like a Hellraiser style. There's a Silence of the Lambs guy whose skin is all flayed open.
Yeah.
And then I shot a lot of that stuff, and then the main unit came in, and I was kind of like, this scene's gonna be like 4 seconds. You know, you build all this stuff, and then the scene's over really quickly. So we try really to make sure that these things land and have the impact that we want, because we got to keep the audience engaged after so many years.
As someone who is new to the universe, I was constantly amazed by those scenes. I mean, we would talk about them, we would plan them for months sometimes, but the day I showed up for the orchestra, the Walker Orchestra, or the day I even saw the dailies of the underwater stuff that you shot, I mean, it just blew me away every time. But that was.
You guys seen the other 5 episodes? Yeah.
We can run all 5 right now if we do it.
Surprise!
Wait, I'm only kidding.
But the standard, just to finish that idea, the standard that Greg and I and everybody was trying to apply was make them a real threat, a real genuine threat in a new way, in a different way, and also make each of these sequences matter narratively. Don't have a token sequence.
Yeah.
You know, make every one of them advance plot and character as much as we can, so that it's never just like, oh, let's throw some walkers at the problem.
Well, and it was kind of funny because when I got there, I said, look, you know, I'm not directing any episodes in season 1, so, you know, I'm here to shoot second unit. Like, put me in. I'll go shoot whatever you guys need me to shoot. So they get to the zombie scenes, and the directors would set it up, and they're like, okay, well, we're going to leave and go shoot this, so you shoot all the zombie stuff because you know how to do all of it. So a lot of the directors, Dan and Tim, you know, they really trusted me to sort of jump in. And,
we couldn't have gotten the show made if we. That was a special situation on the show. Greg did a lot more directing than you would imagine, considering he's not a credited director. But we couldn't have gotten it done and done it as well if you hadn't been doing that. So thank you, Greg.
Well,
I just want to say thank you.
Hold on. You just said that you didn't direct in season 1, which y'all know, but you set yourself up for this. Does that mean will you be directing in season 2?
Yes.
Hey, there it is. Shoots and scores.
I did not tease that. Actually, I direct the season premiere.
Yeah, season premiere.
For season 2.
Be there.
And there's a lot of great stuff in it.
Nice. Norman, just talk, like I sort of mentioned earlier that I saw some different shades to this character I felt like I'd never seen before. What is it like? Because it's a very unique experience when you're playing the same character for this long, but now in a completely new world, different show, and with a new cast. So talk a little bit about that and sort of stretching some different muscles and then working with this new cast over in France.
Well, yeah, David and I wanted to do different things. There was, in the very first episode, I meet Cadron, who's played by Romain, I love that guy. Like, I just love him as a person. He's so fun to work with. Huge fan of the show already. But, that opening scene, or that opening episode, he finds me and we get in this big epic fight, like this fist fight, and right off the bat, I won the fight. And David and I spoke about it, and I was like, you know what, like, let me lose the fight. Let him just beat the shit out of me. And Romain's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, just beat the shit out of me, and I'll, we'll cut out this punch, cut out that punch, and just throw me around. But it makes him a scarier person coming after me if I can't beat him, So.
But what I also loved about that is that it makes Daryl more human, and I loved that Norman was really into that. It was something we really talked about all the way through. It was like the moments where he doesn't have it all under control, the moments where he's really challenged, and I thought that's great because, sometimes, especially playing a role a long time, you're just like, okay, I go in and I win this, I go in and I win that, I go in and I kill these walkers, and that was never your attitude, and that was very freeing for storytelling, and for advancing character.
Yeah, I don't mind that Daryl's the hero. I just don't want him to know he's the hero. You know what I'm saying? But even like with the other actors in this, they're all so good. They all have their moments to shine too. Between the first episode and the 12th episode, everybody has their great moments.
Yeah. Some of them really, we have even more in season 2 to develop them, because 6 episodes is a pretty quick run. So you'll see the Cadron, Genet, and some of those other characters really continue to evolve and change and get more fully nuanced even from where they are. But the actors were amazing, you know.
Yeah, and hats off to not just our crew, but the guys playing the zombies. They're all dancers there, so they're like, you know, they walk all crazy, and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
you know.
They were so into it, right, Greg?
They love it.
They were mad.
The trick is half of them don't speak English, so giving direction to French zombies that don't speak English. And, you know, my French is okay, David's French is much better, but you get on set and you try to speak French and they're like, no, we understand, it's okay. And they would rather us not butcher the language and have us speak in English. But yeah, you know, I mean, one of the things that I always take away from watching the show is it feels like the first season of The Walking Dead, when you have that small group of people, and that was where the DNA was, and that's what we wanted to really go back to. We don't have 22 characters that we have to service. We have a core group of people, and each one of them shines like a diamond. And, you know, even in this last episodes, the little looks between Norman and Clemence, the little smiles and the little raising the glasses, there's such powerful, sweet moments where they're both, and we never really had a lot of opportunity to do that on the other shows. So those moments really land, and they're so powerful.
That was a lot of Dan Percival. He really set the tone, creating a very emotional, sort of romantic, not romantic like lovey-dovey, but romantic sort of ballet. Like, he's just like that as a person already. Everything moves him. He finds beauty in the smallest little things, and he really set a really beautiful tone.
Yeah, Dan did 4 of those 6 episodes in this season, and we'll do 3 of next season. And he's a huge part of why the show looks the way it looks and feels the way it feels. But he's a director I met with, and the minute he walked in, I said to Brian, who works on the show too, Brian Bachrath, I said, that's the guy, because he just immediately understood what we needed to do to be consistent with the world that we were coming out of, but give it a new visual flavor, right, a new visual flair. He understood that, and he understood how to do that in France, and you know, a huge part of it.
Well, it's great because there's elegance and grace and romanticism in Europe to begin with. So to be able to take some of that and inject it into the show makes a huge difference.
So Scott, you have all these Walking Dead shows happening now in different cities and different countries. So how much interconnectivity is there? Like, we saw there's a connection to Walking Dead World Beyond here, right? In terms of what's happening with these experiments with these walkers. So will what's happening to Daryl over in France, is that going to impact, you know, Negan and Maggie in New York, or Rick and Michonne? We heard Carol the other week say something or someone came back that seems to maybe reference something that's happening in the States, but how much interconnectivity are we going to see?
I mean, you know me. I'm not going to tell you, but I guess maybe some.
That is the most Gimple answer
I'm sorry.
ever.
The thing
Maybe period some.
Maybe period some. Italicize some.
Okay, I'll do
Just as far as the World Beyond piece, which in some ways was like independent of World Beyond, it was sort of this just like universe tag at the end. There is this mythology of what happened early on in France, and we talked about it extensively early on. And the thing about having that mythology, having that sort of lockdown idea of what it is, as the show develops, as the show evolves, you know, David's turning dials. He's emphasizing things, he's de-emphasizing things, he's making it his own. But there is a lot that happened, and there are characters in this show that, you know, are either tangentially or directly involved in those things that happened. And we're going to learn more about that too. As far as the greater universe, it is all connected, and I hope to connect it even more.
All right, well, let's say in a minute we connect with the audience here. We are going to take a few audience questions. I know there's a mic set up there. I don't know if there's another one, but there's one there. You guys can start lining up if you want. We'll try and get a few in. While people are lining up, we also took some social questions, and I have one here for Norman. This is on Twitter, X, I don't know what it's called anymore. Okay, this is from @Reedus Network, and wants to know from Norman, what scene in Daryl Dixon was the toughest to film? What scene was the most fun to film? That's kind of interesting, because toughest could mean a lot of things. That could mean emotionally, it could mean logistically, it could mean physically. But what was the scene that really stretched you to the limit there?
Wow. I think the hardest scene you haven't seen yet, it was between me and Louis, who plays Laurent. We did that scene maybe 4 times, and then I had to call it. I was like, I felt horrible.
They've seen it in episode 5.
Oh yeah, you did see it.
In episode 5, Norman.
Oh, that's right. Fuck.
Getting confused.
Yeah.
It's
the scene where he cuts the rope. I find out that he cut the rope and the boat escaped. And I'm screaming at him, and I'm like I was like yelling at him. I was like ad-libbing stuff. I was like going at him, and his lips started quivering, and like a little tear was forming, and half of me is like, nice, and then the other half of me is like, I feel like a jerk. I hugged him like 100 times that day, but that scene was really fun. I mean, not like that. The most fun scene? I don't know. Did I have fun on this? I had fun.
You had fun.
It was when you were beating the shit out of, right?
No.
You were pretty psyched at the Walker Orchestra. Nova came, and you were pretty psyched that day.
Yeah. That was fun. I'm having fun on all of it, to be honest. Yeah. I'm having a really good time. I'm like learning things about myself. I'm learning things about how the show works. I'm a producer now, so I'm like on tech scouts and Zoom meetings, and all that super boring shit.
It is so awesome after all these years to be on these Zoom meetings, and there's Norman.
Yeah.
And it's like, take a look at this.
Yeah, and I'm like biting my
conference
tongue,
call.
and I want to flip a chair over. But it's fun. I have to. I'm a boss now. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of cool.
All right, let's get to a few audience questions. We got microphones lined up here. Let's start right here to the right. Hello, tell us your name and give us your question.
Yes, my name is Sarah. You probably heard us a couple times say that we love your hair. So I was wondering, at the beginning of The Walking Dead, Daryl had short hair. And then it just grew and it became a part of the character, and it really sits well and it moves well with the character. Like it belongs, like that hair belongs to the character. So I was wondering if that was a personal decision that you decided to grow your hair and it just brought it into the show, or Daryl's character had to grow and you adopted it to your personality.
I just figured like Supercuts shut down in an apocalypse. Scott Wilson and I had a thing. We were like, don't cut it, And what bothered me sometimes on the other show was like people's pants got tighter. That there was makeup on people, like all this stuff, and if you remember, like, where that show went, everybody got more and more feral, like more and more feral. I don't know,
about the hair. Do you remember we talked about the hair at the beginning? I wasn't sure if I had made a fatal mistake, because I did say I was thinking, Norm, when they bring you in to clean you up at the Abbey, maybe they cut your hair and we go back to like season 2 look.
We did talk about it.
Norm was like, I don't think so. And I was like, uh-oh, call my agent.
No, there. Look who's talking over there. But there was a show called Felicity. I don't know if you remember this show.
Yeah.
And this sort of came into the discussions. Like, supposedly she cut her curly hair off, and then the show went downhill, and the world freaked out, and David Russell had to apologize to the world. Like, it just kind of put the fear in me for a second. You know what I'm saying? I mean, never say never if it makes sense. You know what I mean? Maybe if you get someplace where he's settled, then who fucking knows? I don't know.
I will say, just season 4, your big push, season 4 of The Walking Dead, you were like, in the prison, I want to walk up to a mirror and cut my own hair.
Yeah, I did then. At that point, I did, but then the story changed, and I'm like in the woods, and I'm savage, and it didn't make sense. You know, we've talked about it like a million times. Like, you know, Zabel and my mother.
Well, personally, I love it. I think it goes with you really, really well.
Oh, thanks.
I realize now that you're asking the question, I'm so glad I didn't talk him into cutting his hair because you would all be so angry, it appears. Like, there would be a lot of hostility in the room if I had won that argument.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes I think about it just on a personal level because I just look better covered in blood. You know what I mean? You know, so who knows? Maybe one day, who knows?
All right, let's get another question over here. Let's move on. We got a long line. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Hi. Norman, I want to thank you for something awesome that you did.
Uh-oh.
You might remember a woman named Susan Whitred, my old veterinarian, who ran the Paws Project.
Yeah, I think I kind of do. Is that
You
weird?
did a video for her. See, she led, was part of leading this effort to criminalize declawing cats in New York, which meant a lot to me because I had a cat who I got declawed when she was young, and I asked the vet. I hear people say, you shouldn't do it. Why? Because I had a cat that was declawed, and she didn't seem to notice. And they said, well, later in life, sometimes they get like arthritis. But don't
I'm gonna speed you up here a little bit. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm a great cause. I got 3 cats. I'm with you 100%, but we got a lot of people waiting in line.
By the way, my cat lived to 23 and was in agony. So she filmed it, Susan, and thank you so much.
Yeah, I've seen the rats in New York. I'm not going to take his claws out. You know what I mean?
Beauty.
All right, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Yes, question. Tell us your name and ask your question.
Yes, my name is Joseph. I was curious, like after all these sequel shows, I'm thinking some point it's all gonna come together. Would y'all revive the Walking Dead series, or would y'all do a different sequel type of
It's
show?
interesting, Scott. A lot of shows sort of end and then come back. We see that all the time these days in terms of the Mothership show.
Well, that isn't specifically planned. It would be good, though, to see. Wait, it would be good. Well, that'd be good, too. But it'd be good. We would. The dream would be that these shows somehow converge in some way, narratively. And then as far as the show coming back, wow, we're already talking revivals. Yeah, I'm not against it.
Yeah, he doesn't answer anything. All right, thanks for your question. Go right over here.
Hi, my name is Brennan Wong, and I got a question for Norman Reedus. So at the end of the season finale, well, somewhat at the end, when Norman was looking at, I keep mispronouncing his name, Lamont or whatever, between Lamont and the boat. For you personally, as yourself, what would you have done if you were to make that decision? Either you stay in France and protect the people over there at the nest, or would you rather go back to Commonwealth to where all your original family, friends, and loved ones are there? Would you make that promise thinking that you're going to come back? So which one would you have decided if you had to make that choice?
What would Daryl do? Or what would Norman do?
What would Norman do? What would Daryl do? I mean, you notice like behind him, all those walkers are standing up. Like I kind of couldn't leave him there. You know what I mean? He'd turn into baloney. Yeah.
But even if the walkers weren't there, like, would you still like make the decision on going back to Commonwealth, or just stay in France with the people at Nest?
Maybe I'd grab him and take him with me, since there's a bunch of people trying to kill him.
Ooh.
That works. Yep, that works.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
All right, let's get
That
one
would
more
make sense.
question
Yeah.
over here with the bride here. Let's see what's going on.
You look cool.
What's your name?
Annalise,
Annalise. What's your question?
this is for Norman. At the end of the panel, can we have him sign things?
Well, we'll see. She wants to.
I'll sign that right now. Come here. Yeah.
Bring it up.
Yeah.
Bring it up right now. Just Annalise, everyone. Just Annalise.
What a good soul.
Thought he was going to marry me. Now he's going to marry her. She's dressed for it already. It's all set. Look at that. Look at that, everyone. Woo! Awesome. Don't sell that. All right, listen. We can't do any more questions, but I do just want to give a shout out to Carl and Negan over here. You see this?
Yeah.
All right, Carl, give us one question, Carl.
All right. I want to know. My name is Will, and I want to know how it's been growing with your character. You know, having The Walking Dead end, and then coming back for this sequel. How has that been for you, Norman?
It's been, I'd never really done television before this, and I ran into a friend of mine the other day who lives here in New York, and he's like, dude, I remember when you were like, hey, I'm gonna be in Georgia for probably like 4 weeks or so. Come visit me. Right? That's what I thought. I was gonna get killed off the show for sure. I had no plans to do this, but and I've done a lot of movies, but the thing with TV, like you're in people's living room every Sunday, they really get to know you, they really think they know you. I kind of like aging in front of people, and I kind of do. It's kind of like this crazy social experiment for me.
You've aged like wine, if it helps.
Yeah. Wait, what'd you say? Oh, like wine.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
French
I like
thing.
wine. Yeah. I'm trying to take all the things as a character that I've learned from the other characters. I've learned from Rick. I've learned from Herschel. Like all, and it's we've talked about it on the show. Like Scott and I have talked about it. David and I have talked about it. Greg and I have talked about it. Like Daryl started off one way, right? And he's becoming, he's smarter, he's wiser. He doesn't sometimes make the first move anymore. Like, so I'm taking all these things that I've learned, and I'm kind of learning about this business more and more in real time as I'm doing it. So it's all kind of a weird sort of acid trip for me, Yeah. And I'm having a really good time, And people are like, when are you gonna like cut your hair and play a lawyer? I'm like, I don't know, who cares? You know what I mean? I like playing this one, so as long as you guys will have me, I'll probably keep doing it.
And just so you guys know, and I think you guys know this, when he talks about having a great time, it's not just filming the show. You all have been to these cons before. You go, no one gets more amped up for this than Norman Reedus. He loves being in a room with you guys.
Yeah, I miss you guys.
So
I
much.
miss doing this.
And I mean, this whole day's been amazing. And after that ending we saw with Carol, I think everyone's like so amped for season 2. I just kind of wish, instead of just talking about it, we could actually see some of season 2. Scott, like any chance like we can see any?
Well, like I said, I really, would prefer no spoilers, anything like that.
This is what he does. He's like, that's weeks. First you kill Rosita, and now this. I don't know why you have to. I don't know. I mean, they want to. Would you guys like to see something from season 2?
Yeah.
Okay, would you guys like to see that?
We pinky promise we won't say
Okay.
anything.
Okay.
Oh, you
I mean,
twisted that arm.
something.
Look at that. You twisted that arm. All right. We have an exclusive teaser footage from season 2 of Daryl Dixon, and this is only being shown in this room. No one else is seeing this. It's just for you, and it also features a very special introduction. Let's take a look. The Book of Carol. Let's go. Let's go. Speaking of going, unlike Daryl, who's got to make that choice between whether to leave or stay, we don't have that choice. Our time is up. We have to leave. So it's like, sorry, Laurent, they're making us get on the boat. I want to thank Scott Gimple, David Zabel, Greg Nicotero, and Norman Reedus.
Thank you.
For being here today and hanging out with all of us. Get back to work on season 2, gentlemen. A big thanks to you for all coming out. The season finale of Daryl Dixon airs this Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern on AMC Plus. Have a great con. You guys have been awesome. It's been super fun. Have a good one.
Thank you guys so much.